Recently, I, just as any other self respecting Canadian sports fan, has been feeling more and more Belgian ever since their crushing victory over the United States in the FIFA World Cup. However, my tiny Canadian brain that knew nothing of Belgium's history prior only really knew that Belgium is more of a manufactured concept rather than an ancient idea. I mean, Belgium's own prime minister doesn't see himself as Belgian. This got me wondering, how did so many French and Dutch people decide to unite to create this weird country? Here's why and how. The Belgian Revolution. First, allow me to take you back to 1815. Napoleon just lost the Battle of Waterloo, ending his military career. The Congress of Vienna created a kingdom for the House of Orange-Nassau, thus combining the provinces of the Netherlands with the former Austrian Netherlands? What? Anyways, to create a buffer state north of the now weakened France. Religion was one of the main reasons for the cause of the Belgian Revolution. In what would become Belgium, Catholicism was popular, and in the Dutch areas, they were largely Protestant. Also, a lack of general autonomy given to the south of the country was a major reason as to why the revolution started. Wikipedia lists quite a few other reasons for revolution, so I will list a few off here that I felt the strongest. The underrepresentation of Belgians in the parliament, about 62% of the population for 50% of the seats. The high northern debt had to be supported by the south, who had a lower debt. The contingent imposed on Belgium by the recruitment of militiamen was proportionately high, while the proportion of Belgians among the officers was low, the high staff being mainly composed of former officers of the French army or of the British army. The unsatisfactory application of freedom of the press and freedom of assembly were considered by Belgian intellectuals as a means of control of the South by the North. A linguistic reform in 1823 was intended to make Dutch the official language in the Flemish provinces. Most of the institutions were based in the north, and public burdens were unevenly distributed. Catholic partisans excitedly watched the unfolding July Revolution taking place in France, details of which were swiftly reported in the newspapers. On the 25th of August 1830, at the Théâtre Royal de la Monnaie in Brussels, an uprising followed a performance in honor of William I's birthday. After that performance, many Belgians left the show and immediately joined the uprising which had begun earlier. The crowd poured into the streets shouting patriotic slogans. The violence continued for several days, with protesters capturing key points in the city, including the Parc de Bruxelles and the Palais de Bruxelles. The Belgian rebels began to organize and fortify their positions in preparation for further confrontations with Dutch forces. The following days saw an explosion of the desperate proletariat of Brussels, who rallied around the newly created flag of the Brussels independence movement. William I sent his two sons, Crown Prince William and Prince Frederick, to quell the riots. William was asked by the burghers of Brussels to come out to the town alone with no troops for a meeting. This he did, despite the obvious risks. The moderate Crown Prince William, who represented the monarchy in Brussels, was convinced by the États Généraux on the 1st of September that the administrative separation of the North and the South was the only viable solution to this crisis. His father rejected the terms of accommodation that Prince William proposed. King William I attempted to restore order by force, but the 8,000 Dutch troops under Prince Frederick were unable to retake Brussels in bloody street fighting. An opportunity to quell the breach was lost on the 26th of September when a national congress was summoned to drop a constitution, and the provisional government was established under Charles Latour-Rogier. The provisional government then issued a Declaration of Independence on the 4th of October 1830. At first, the European powers were divided over the Belgian cry for independence. The Napoleonic Wars were still fresh in the memories of the major European powers, so once the French supported Belgian independence, the other European powers supported the continued unions of provinces of the Netherlands, because they thought France might try to annex Belgium. However, none of the European powers actually sent troops to aid the Dutch government. partly because of rebellions within some of their own borders. Like in Russia, they were occupied with the November uprising in Poland, and Prussia was saddled with debt from the wars. Britain would come to see the benefits of isolating France geographically with the new creation of a new Belgian buffer state between France, the Netherlands, and Prussia. In November 1830, the National Congress of Belgium was created to create a constitution for the new state. The Congress decided that Belgium would be a constitutional monarchy. On the 7th of February 1831, the Belgian Constitution was proclaimed. Eventually, the Congress drew up a short list of three candidates, all of whom were French. This itself was controversial, and Leopold of Saxe-Coburg, who had been dropped at an earlier stage because of French opposition, was proposed again. On the 22nd of April 1831, Leopold was approached by a Belgian delegation at Marlborough House to officially offer him the throne. At first reluctant, he eventually took up the offer, and after an enthusiastic welcome on his way to Brussels, Leopold I of Belgium took his oath as king on the 21st of July, 1831. The 21st of July is now often seen as Belgium's National Day. On the 2nd of August 1831, the Dutch army headed by the Dutch princes invaded Belgium in what would become known as the 10 Days Campaign. On the 4th, the Dutch forces took control of Antwerp and moved deeper into Belgium. The Belgian army was defeated in the Battle of Hasselt. On the 8th of August, Leopold called for support from the French and the British. As a result, Marshal Etienne Maurice Gérard crossed the border with 70,000 French troops under his command on the 9th of August. The Battle of Leuven began on August 12th. In order to avoid war with the approaching French, the Dutch agreed to an armistice with Belgium and withdrew after briefly taking control of the city. While the victorious initial campaign gave the Dutch an advantageous position in subsequent negotiations, the Dutch were compelled to agree to an indefinite armistice. Gérard returned to Belgium in November 1832 with the Armée du Nord and besieged the citadel, taking it on the 23rd of December 1832. William I would refuse to recognize a Belgian state until April 1839, when he had to yield under pressure by the Treaty of London and reluctantly recognized that there was a border. On the 19th of April 1839, the Treaty of London signed by the European powers, yes, including the Netherlands, recognized Belgium as an independent and neutral country, comprising West Flanders, East Flanders, Brabant, Antwerp, Hainaut, Namur, and Liège, as well as half of Luxembourg and Limburg. The Dutch army, however, held on to Maastricht, and as a result, the Netherlands kept the eastern half of Limburg and its large coalfields. The only time this treaty was broken was on the 4th of August 1914, when the German army invaded Belgium, declaring this treaty to be little more than a scrap of paper. Britain declared war on Germany right after. But what do I know? I'm just Canadian. If I got anything wrong or missed anything, keep in mind that I am not Belgian. Let me know in the comments, but politely please. I'm Canadian, so I know what's polite and what's not.